I'm going to take on a 100-day challenge series to build a village in each biome in survival. I will have one mod enabled for landscaping called Plant Everything. I won't be allowed to make a moat or a dirt wall to defend the village from the raids. On day 80, I must kill the elder and one troll to start the troll raid. Oh yeah, and I have to do it without pants on. Don't ask why. So let's begin. I spent 100 days in Valheim building the village. So on day 1, I met this Valkyrie who was kind enough to drop me off in the world of Valheim. Straight away, I started punching some trees and picked up some stones. I met a Greylin I called Steve, who seemed to be suffering from social starvation, so I decided to play tag with him. I started to be concerned about food, so I searched around and found some berries and some mushrooms. Started thinking about where to put a starter village. I wanted a spot that was close to the water and had a nearby black forest to get forward later on. I found one not too far from spawn, so I decided to set up base in a nearby abandoned house. Luckily for me, it had a beehive inside, so I placed down a workbench, demolished the walls, and got my first queen bee. After which I made a beehive on a nearby oak tree and ensured the bees were happy. I went out to gather more wood, prepared the house, made a bed, and retired for the rest of the night. On day 2, I wanted to get a good infinite source of protein going. Luckily for me, 2 boars were already nearby the house, so I made an area to box them in, drop some raspberry on the ground, and lure them in with ease using my body as bait. They were still young, so I head out searching for other boars while the boars back at home continued to tame. Found a stone that spoke about the boars, and lo and behold, the boar families were nearby, so I did what any good Viking farmer would do. After taking out some nearby deers, I found a few more raspberry bushes. This time around, I took the opportunity to mark it on the map, which is going to be useful in the future. I head back home, saw that the boars stopped taming. I forgot I have to be nearby them for them to appreciate my manly scent. So for day 3, I stayed there and waited until I named one Brenda and the other one George. Now I felt like I had a family. Well, whose offspring I was gonna feed on for the rest of their lives. So after securing a proper food source, day 4 was crucial for battle. I needed a shield, a bow, and yeah, I sharpened my butter knife. Made a new leather helmet and a chest piece. I want to take on the Black Force to access certain core. Before heading out, I checked on Brenda and George and saw a new addition to the family, a new baby piggy. That was so cute. I assured Brenda and George that everything will be fine. So I set out and entered the Black Forest for the first time. I was happily welcomed by 4 grey dwarfs, who I am going to call Pebbles. Entered my first burial chamber, which had 1 rancid skeleton, so I cheesed my way in a bit. Met a ghost I was not willing to fight, so I lured it in an empty room and closed the door. Raid the last room, and in the end I ended up with 13 Surtling cores, which was more than what I needed to get my plan going. Day 5 to 11, main focus was copper and tin. I didn't defeat the first boss yet because I didn't want Pebbles and his crew of nitwits to raid the camp, so I opted for something risky, making use of Frank free labor service. Sadly, I wasted 1 whole day looking for Frank. He was nowhere to be found. Following day though, I found him deeper in the Black Forest, looking a bit depressed.
Finally, Frankie! Alright, Frankie, come with me.
So I put him to work, and it made him feel like he had purpose again.
Good job, good boy. You need to come down here, Ooh, good job, Frankie.
Although I got a few copper out of it, I was starting to think it wasn't a viable option because it was too far from the camp. So I ditched Frank and head back home, and I decided I was going to defeat Eek there. Who? Or is it Ike there? Who there? Forget it. Let's just call him Bob. After defeating Bob, I took his horn and made a pickaxe. This means that Frank was now redundant. I mined my own copper and tin. I was then able to make a forge so that I can make a bronze axe. Let the deforestation begin. 6 days I spent chopping trees down non-stop. I didn't want to run out of wood while building, so I had to put in the extra effort. Day 18 was B-Day. So for the past days, I've been mostly preparing for this. So all this time I lived in this abandoned house, and everything else was exposed to the elements. Luckily, I haven't been raided yet. So I took the time to secure my greatest assets, Brenda and George. I placed some pikes all around their fence, which I was able to make when I chopped down some pine trees in the Black Forest, unlocking core wood, which is vital for structural stability in the early stages of building. Brenda and George are secured. Now it was time to work on our village. I wanted to start a village to have a Viking theme, so what better way to start off is by making a longhouse. I wanted to be the center of attention, so I leveled a spot on the hill with the help of my hoe and pickaxe, and then started working on a layout for the structure. I made a 10 by 7 45-degree A-frame structure and set the 26-degree roof at an angle so that it was pushing forward. The 45-degree roof was so high I had to use core wood to keep it stable. I wanted the front to be interesting, so I gave it a custom column to frame out the doorway and some diamond-shaped windows. I wanted the sides to not only be showing the roof, so I added a circular structure to give it more character. I added a balcony on the other side and on the back for viewing and sniping purposes, just in case of a raid. Now that Bob is dead, pebbles will start visiting at nights, so this should come in handy for that situation. I added a central fireplace to keep me warm, added some shields to give it the iconic Viking look. But there was one section that needed some work, but I didn't know what to do with it. I thought about using the 45-degree X. Tried the 26-degree X. After pondering for a while, I got tired of standing, so I made a stool to sit, and then it hit me. Perfect. Now I need more of that fine. The stool costs 4 fine wood each, and each window would need 20 stools. So that's 80 fine wood for one window. I have 4 windows remaining, so I needed a total of 320 fine wood to complete it. So I got the needed fine wood after chopping a couple of birch trees and got a few birch tree seeds in the process. And finally, it was complete. Day 26. I was checking my storage to see how much food I had remaining because I ran out of blueberries, so I wasn't able to make Queen's Gem. But after searching around in my chest, I forgot I had carrot seeds. Silly me. So I grabbed my cultivator and took some time to prepare the land to plant the seeds temporarily. Later that day, I saw Steve abusing my carrots, so I thought it was time to put up some low-budget looking walls, which should give us an idea how the village is going to shape up. I also made some pathways so that I know where to put other structures, added a few fence just to see how it would look, and I must say, I'm loving the feeling of it, although it was far from being done. I added a few layouts just to get a clear idea where each builds are going to be. Then on day 28, I started working on a blacksmith. I didn't want it to be fancy, so I kept a simple, rustic look by using the back of the wooden walls. I moved the smelter over and added a few details and completed the structure on day 30. Day 31, I demolished the abandoned house that I was staying in. I thought about making a tavern by the water, so I wanted the area to be cleared and also to fully move into my brand new home, which I was really proud of. Now all I need is some good furniture. Later that day in the night, I went out foraging for berries so I can make some more Queen's Jam. Surprisingly, at first, it seems quiet. Too quiet. There was no pebbles to harass me. Wellington the skeleton wasn't around either, so I thought I could lower my guard. And just as I thought, Karen came out of nowhere spewing her green juice, so I ran. Not too far from there, I saw something big. It was Frank in the distance. I wasn't up for an awkward moment, seeing we didn't end on a good note, so I went the other way and decided to head home. I was almost at the village, and then it was day 32. Steve seemed to be curious and wanted to check out the village. I knew it was mean of me, but yeah, I kicked him out. Sorry, Steve. I checked on the carrots I reaped and planted the other day, but they weren't ready, so I planted a few more that I found in the Black Forest. I want to repeat the process over and over so I can make a massive field in the future, hopefully. I then thought about my next project, making a tavern. I wanted to be the place I cook my food, drink my meat, and chill. I had a few wood remaining, but I wasn't sure if it was enough, but I still went ahead and started building. What I wanted for the tavern was an open roof concept for the main entrance. I know the rain would damage the wood, but I don't care. I didn't want it to be big, so I used 26-degree roof, so it doesn't seem too high. I wanted this tavern to connect to a fishing and boat area in the coming days, so I created a little bridge pathway. Day 36. 4 days in the tavern project. Before I head back to work, I saw it was time to reap and replant the carrots once more. But then I started to wonder, why I haven't been raided yet for the past 36 days? Maybe I should be thankful and appreciate the peace for now. I head on over to the tavern in progress, started working on the roof and whatever I could do. Day 37. It was like any other day, but with a thick fog. I actually thought to myself, this would be a bad time to have a raid. It was when I was working on the flooring for the entrance, it happened. A raid. I was ready to defend, but not for the aftermath. They came in droves. Pebbles was relentless, and he brought a big boy along. I didn't have a fitting name, so we gonna call him Keith. He didn't have much brain cell because he couldn't use a steer, which was good news for me. Karen was happy to make her presence known, spewing her green juice at me once more. I was able to make a quick work on Keith, but I saw Karen running off. I got heavily concerned when I heard the distress of Brendan and George. I tried to protect them. Keith came back and he mean business. I thought that this was it for me. He almost had me pinned, but I slipped out somehow, luckily. Hearing the cries of Brendan and George keeps piercing my heart. Unable to do nothing due to being overwhelmed, I tried my best to distract them until the raid ended and slowly picked off the remaining ones. I went over to the pen. I saw some boar remains. I was hoping it was just the offsprings. Then my heart dropped. I saw only one, and it was Brenda. George is dead. On day 38, I finally mustered up the strength to make a grave for George. After a sorrowful start of the day, I head back to work to finish up the tavern. I added a few decor here and there, finished up the outside decor of the build after adding some vines on day 41. After reflecting on the death of George, I thought it was better to improve the defense of the village, so from day 41 to 42, I added a gate to keep the intruders out and a watchtower. I ran out of wood, so I could only build one for now. Later on, I started to evaluate my weapons and armor and came to the conclusion I need some upgrades. I wanted a fine wood bow for improved accuracy and a bronze butter knife. For armor, I didn't want bronze armor because it was too heavy. I thought about Frank's skin. Looks nice for a possible armor. Damn boy, he's thick! But for now, let's not aggravate anyone else just yet. So I'm left with improving the quality of my current armor. So I hunted some deers and take out a few Wellingtons. Found 2 beehives in an abandoned village. I took the chance to take out a few boars along the way to fill my protein demands. Did some more mining for copper and tin. Got back home and started smelting. On day 46, I got raided again. This time it wasn't bad after making the gates, although there was a breach near the tavern, so I made sure to take out Karen first. I hopped between fences to get pebbles and keep confused while I slowly pick off a few. Nothing major happened, only a few damage to some structure. I made sure to extend the walls to solve the issue of the intruders easily accessing the village. And on the same day, I made a fine wood bow with some leftover fine wood, made a copper butter knife, made an at gear for crowd control, and a bronze buckler. Too bad I made the at gear after the raid, or else I would have tested it out. Later that day, I head out to get more wood because I seem to never have enough wood at this point, so it was back to the grind. I was a person that loved chopping trees, but doing this 100-day challenge, I'm starting to hate it. 2 days after the tree chopping madness, I head back to the village and thought about my next project, and it was for Brenda. I thought about Brenda's living condition and wanted her to be happy, so I started building. The idea is I wanted to have a neat little house with a patio and a nice clean pen. Then I got raided again, and this was the easiest of them all. They were unable to get in, and all I had to do was to snipe them one by one from the watchtower. After the raid ended, I grabbed my at gear, and it was so satisfying to do a whirlwind to wipe out the remnants. Too easy. Had my fun, so it's back to work. Made a 4x4 house with a 3x2 patio. I added custom columns to give the build more depth. Added a flat open concept roof structure to the side for detail. I used a cultivated soil to make the ground look muddy with footprints. Made 2 feeding boxes using signs, and finally added some vines. On day 51 is when I started to focus on new food recipe. Now that I have a honey factory going, I can stockpile on these new foods a lot faster. Honey was one of the main ingredients in some of the new delicious food and potions. So I made a few more fermenters to increase my potion production, which I'm going to need greatly for what I plan on doing in the coming days. Now that I have reached the halfway mark, I needed more manpower to chop wood. I still have a fishing area to be done with a little dock for a boat, a storage house, and whatever that may pop up along the way. Also, we have our massive farm to work on too. So it was time to consider to take on our second boss. When defeated, grants the tree chopping power I need. But was I ready? Was the village ready? Finding the next boss was easy because on day 4 I found his location in my first script adventure. So I set out to scout the land to see what I was working with. Did some foraging along the way. I got closer and saw it was on a neighboring island, and luckily there were a few patches of land to cross over. Then something I never would have expected appeared on the map. A trader who I could purchase a fishing rod from to use as decoration. But now I felt like I had less brain cells than Keith because I forgot to bring a portal. It was a half-day journey away, so it wasn't so bad. I went over to the Elder to see the soon-to-be battlefield and what was around it that could interfere with our clash. Then I got shot and it hurt. It was Wellington and he was buff. I had to use a nearby tree as cover to regain my composure and finish him off. I head back home and was reflecting on the pros and cons. Defeating him would grant me the power I need to help Mother Nature some more. But then I will be raided by new enemies. While I left the thought to simmer for a few days, I made 3 more watchtowers and added more spikes to protect against future raids. Also, I did a bit more farming. On day 56, I went back to where I first landed to offer Bob's head to receive the power of swiftness. I didn't get it back when I defeated him because I didn't consider it important at the time. So after collecting my new power, I head back home to prepare. I grabbed some healing potions and some stamina potions. Then I head on over to old Daddy Longlegs. Daylight was almost over and I didn't want to fight him in the night. So I head back home using a portal this time around and head to bed. It was time. I summoned Daddy Longlegs by setting his seed sack on fire. And yeah, he was not pleased. After defeating Daddy Longlegs, he dropped a key which could grant access to lots and lots of iron. But it was in a place I consider the worst biome ever, the swamp. After fantasizing about the iron for a little, I took the Elder Head and head back to offer it up for some deforestation buff. And now it was time to get back to the grind. Day 63. After chopping trees again and again and again, now that I have enough wood, I finally get the chance to visualize my next project. Building a dock for a boat and a fishing gazebo. This wasn't easy to build like the other builds because it was in the water, so I can't swim and build at the same time. So I had to raise the seabed so that I can make the foundation a lot easier and use a raft to aid me to move around freely. The design I had in mind was an octagonal shaped structure with 4 dock pathways. I also wanted an umbrella roof with a broad overhang, so I used 26-degree and 2-meter beams to achieve this. I make sure to add more core wood to support the roof to meet in the center. Day 65 was that time again. Another raid. This time it was a foul smell. Knowing that I could get one shot by a drugger, I started to panic at first. I was confused as to where they were coming from, and then I saw a few swimming towards me. And then I realized it wasn't that bad because they couldn't reach me, but I was still concerned. Why was it only a few here? So I head up to the watchtower to see if there were more of them, but it seemed my spikes got a few, which was great. I stayed in the tower until it was over, and surprisingly it went well. Just a little damage to some walls and spikes, but nothing major really. So I head back to the dock to complete the roof. I added a detail to make the 26-degree beam become more pronounced. Then 2 more days pass. I worked day and nights. I was able to complete the structure of the fishing gazebo and the dock on day 67 without much decoration, which I plan on doing later on. After being tied up with building, chopping trees and defending the village for these past days, I realized I've completely forgotten about Brenda. Poor thing, she's hungry and lonely. So I decided that it was time for her to get a new partner. So I made sure to make a confined path to the pen so I can lock the boar in later. So I head out to find her a companion to fill her emotional needs. Not far from the village, I saw a boar that was right for her. Told him to follow me for free berries and he seemed very excited. We got to the village, I lured him on the path and shut the door, pulled out the shield and tried to push him in. And my god, he didn't want to go in. Finally got the boar in and tossed in the berries I promised. While he was there trying to accept the reality, I decided to work on the village pathway some more while he continues to tame. I just have to make sure I am close. On day 69, I named Brenda's new companion Gregory. Now that Brenda is happy, I was able to shift my focus on my next project. I was considering doing a storehouse, but I also wanted a woodcutter house. So I decided that why not have the aesthetics of a woodcutter house, but use the inside for storage of other materials. But before I even begin, I got another raid. And back to the watchtower I go. At this point, I am surprised they still couldn't break the walls, and the spikes were doing fabulous work. I'm starting to think that I'm impenetrable. Well, let's hope it remains after day 80. So I head down to repair the walls and remake some of the spikes, and then I began construction beside the tavern. It was a small space, so I have to compress the build, but also make it aesthetically pleasing. So I made a 3x3 box with a wall height of 6 meters and added a 45-degree roof on top. I added custom columns to give the build a bit more depth. Add a 1.5 by 2 extension structure to use as an entrance. I made a 45-degree open roof using ladders to achieve the design, and added a flat open roof using 2-meter beams Finish it off with some little decoration here and there. Honestly, this is the coziest place I've ever seen to store my junk in. I was thinking to get the storage system running now, so I started using the remaining wood to make a few chests. I wanted the most used material to be stored on the ground floor, while the least used be stored on the first floor. On day 73, I head out to chop some of the remaining logs in the field, and later on I started a farm outside, only for the purpose to have a beautiful flower field. Planting those carrot flowers actually felt therapeutic. I think I needed that. The fact that day 80 is 5 days away with so much work done, I am dreading the remaining 20 days. I thought to myself, seeing that I'm in a planting mood, I might as well plant some more trees around the village. Day 76, I checked on the structure layout. I wasn't sure what to do it. I thought about changing it to a archery area so I can do a little target practice. I could use a few shield with a red and white pattern, but I need more leather scraps. I would spare Brenda and George Offspring for now, so it was back to hunting in the wild. After a whole day of hunting, I head back home with the needed amount of leather scraps. Then on day 77, I made the archery training area. I don't know, it looks like a graveyard. Now with 3 days remaining, I started thinking about preparing for a voyage after I take out Frank. I wanted to risk my booty cheeks for some sweet iron. Why? Because I wanted stone path. I've kept with the starter theme for the structure so far, so a little stone path won't hurt. So I grabbed some material to make a carve and drop it by my brand new dock. I later on made sure to place a portal in the carve in case I forget to tape one. I head back to the tavern to cook some more food to keep me for a couple more days. I decided I wanted more of a hefty meal, so I made carrot soup, deer stew, and boar jerky. On day 78, I thought about upgrading my current weapon before facing Frank, so I used up all my remaining bronze to upgrade my gear and shield. I wasted 8 copper by accidentally making another copper knife instead of upgrading the current one, but I was still able to get it to level 3 before I ran out. Day 79, anxiety was eating away my core. Couldn't wait for day 80 any longer, so I head out to the Black Forest. To my surprise, I saw not Frank, but Hank waiting at the border of the Black Forest. If you're wondering who is Hank, Hank is the older twin brother to Frank that likes very long logs.
That's what she said!
Before I even hop into the battle, I realized Pebbles was nearby, so I had to take him out first. Now I had a clear opportunity to jump on Hank. Note to self, don't write any more script before bed. So it's just me and Hank. It's just me and Hank. Let's build up stamina, please. Where he moves. Time to clap them booty cheeks.
Oh my god!
Whoa, my god, he couldn't do anything. Oh man, that was so satisfying. After taking down Hank, I head further into the Black Forest because I wanted more. More troll leather, that is. I later on found Hank's house. I went in to see if he was home, and indeed he was. I didn't stop there. I continued on a booty cheek clapping marathon. There were a few moments though, I almost got my own cheeks clapped. It was getting dark, so I head home now that I had enough troll leather to make my new armor. On day 80, I made a troll armor chest piece and a headgear, which had more defense than my current armor. It felt a bit tight, but workable. Now with confidence as tight-fitting as this armor, I was ready to grab a few iron from the swamp. Made sure to take some poison potions and set sail as soon as possible, because I felt a Frank and Hank retribution coming. I would later on regret not bringing some extra wood for building, so I set sail for the first time towards the unknown. To the east I go. I didn't know a sea shan- I didn't know a sh- didn't know a sea shanty, so it was a boring voyage. I later on got roughed up by a storm until I eventually found a swamp next to a black forest. I saw a little structure on the edge of the swamp, so I risked setting up a base there. Made sure to drink a poison or else. I soon felt despair because I had no wood for a workbench to make a portal. Larry the Leech and his relatives were already swarming the water. Blobby Bobby was making his way over, and I can feel that night was setting in. I tried getting some wood, which made things worse, so I had to fight off Loser Oozer, Walton the Skeleton, Blobby Bobby, and some dead guy named Bernard. After taking out some of the swamp scum, I waited for morning. It was day 81. I took out 5 leeches, then got the needed wood for a workbench and made a portal. I head out to find a crypt. I wasn't planning on a full dungeon raid, it was mostly to get what I need and get out. I got about 4 iron, which was twice as much I needed. I hightailed it out of there, hop in the boat and head home. I got home safely before nightfall and head to bed to rest up for the next day. Day 82, I went back to the Black Forest and spent most of the day to mine more copper. I went back home and tried to chuck the copper ore in the furnace. Forgot I had unsmelted leftovers. I was able to slip 2 irons in though. Then I head over to Brenda and Gregory and slaughter a few of their offsprings. Afterwards, I went to bed with a clean conscience. On day 83, I started working on upgrading the pathway for the village. I wanted to add some arch with some vines attached to it. I mostly used the back of the vines to show the vine branch for our mix of detail. The vines were quickly eating away my remaining wood supply because it cost 2 wood each, so I had to chop more wood. I added some berry bush that cost 5 berries each to make. I didn't want to do this in the early stages because of it being too much of an advantage and only wanted it for landscaping purposes. Completed the path on day 85. Interesting. No raid yet. While I was on high alert, I decided to make a water well and plant the remaining carrot flowers and some regular carrots to replenish my carrot food pile and finish it all up on day 88. On day 89, I took down George Grave because it was taking up prime real estate. I wanted a campfire area, but honestly I never had a clear vision how it should look. I just wanted something there that was more attractive. Also, I planted an ancient tree seed I got from the swamp a few days ago. I love the look of the tree beside the house. A nice little touch to the village, I must say. Made a wood panel behind these target dummies so that it looked less like a graveyard. Headed over to the dock and I decided to use it as a little portal hub, seeing that we have these little window openings, so it was perfect. I was now at my limit both for me and the village. I was exhausted. So far the village is at 10k instance. The interior decorations were kept to a minimum so that it doesn't lag that badly. For day 93 to 99, I waited for a raid because I wanted to flex a bit. I didn't felt scared anymore, but I got bored of waiting and felt lonely. So I decided that I wanted to invite Steve to be a part of the village. Gave him an internship at the tavern so I could have someone to talk to. Hey Steve, why did the tree cross the road? Because it was barking up the wrong lane. Bruh. It was finally day 100. Well, 101 to be exact. Because I was doing some preview shot and I didn't realize I hit 100 days already. I really had fun making this video and doing this challenge, although it was very long to complete and taxing, but I wanted to give you guys something different. If you want more video like this, help this video to reach 1,000 likes. That would tell me you definitely want me to continue. Thank you to my patrons and YouTube members for keeping the channel going, and thank you all for watching. Don't forget to always aspire to inspire. Peace.